All right, we got a lot to talk about. Spider-Man, brand new day. Let's get into it. Man, there's like a quarter of this left. I really should have like tanked it before I put the mask on because I'm really thirsty. Worth it. Alright, let's get into it. Hey, what up, I'm Miles, and welcome back. And let's just get right into this video. I'm not going to do the normal thing where I just talk for 45 minutes and never get to the point. Yeah, let's see how long that lasts. Anyway, obviously we all know Spider-Man Brand New Day. We've gotten a lot of visuals and information that has come out in the past week or so. And I'm going to go through and break down virtually everything that I know about the movie and share it with you guys to say everything we know about Spider-Man Brand New Day so far. At this current moment, this is everything we know about Spider-Man Brand New Day. That tan line is atrocious, by the way. Like, yikes. Should have put a flashing lights warning on this. Now, I did do one of these Everything We Know videos a couple months back about Beyond the Spider-Verse and talking about everything we know about that movie. Unfortunately, that one got delayed into infinity, so that certainly aged well. So this time around, let's actually do a video like this, breaking down everything we know about a Spider-Man movie that has a confirmed release date this time, and hopefully doesn't get pushed back. Starting with that, Spider-Man Brand New Day is set to release on July 31st of 2026, which is next year. Which, in all honesty, I know it seems like it's a year away, but that's actually less than a year away, and given with how fast this year has gone by, that's gonna show up like no time, so you can expect this channel to have a lot more Spider-Man Brand New Day content involved, on top of all of my other content, especially Spider-Man. The overall gist of what I've heard about this movie, and kind of what's been going around everybody, is that this is going to be a street-level version of a Spider-Man story. It's set to be a street-level film around a street-level story with a street-level Spider-Man. Now, what exactly does that mean? Obviously, we know the classic Spider-Man hero himself is a street-level hero. He is not a cosmic hero. He is not a world-ending hero. And up until this point so far in the MCU, he has been both of those things. He has been an intergalactic hero fighting aliens across dimensions and saving the world from world-ending events. Now, while I know Spider-Man is a great hero and he would always sacrifice himself to do those things as we have seen him do, that is a little beyond what a Spider-Man story normally is in a traditional sense. Now, obviously, when you get into things like the Spider-Verse, different dimensions, different web lines, different Spider-Verse stories, it's a little bit different. However, for a grounded approach of an in real life Spider-Man, going for a more street level approach is definitely the way to do it. It's why Tobey and Andrew's movies were so successful and why those Spider-Man were so relatable. So the fact that Tom is finally getting his street level Spider-Man story is a must. And it was something that was on my list from months and months and months ago when I knew these movies were happening, that I wanted to see them pursue for the story. I didn't want to see another interdimensional, multiple variant timeline story thing. It's too much. Keep it concise. And of course, we know that this version of our Peter Parker, our beloved Tom Holland, is in classic Spidey fashion. He is broke, he's alone, he's sad, and he's exhausted. He never has time. He's struggling to hold down a job, struggling with the GEDs, and all while balancing his life as Spider-Man without any help or any friends. It's honestly super sad to realize as Spider-Man fans that we cheer more the more miserable Spider-Man is. I don't know why we do that. We're like secretly terrible people. No, but in all seriousness, it really does show the relatability of Spider-Man and his character. As we all know, Spider-Man has been said to be one of the most relatable, if not the most relatable hero in all of comics and probably fiction itself. And a huge part of that goes into the fact that he is a struggling young man, a struggling teen in a world that does not cater to him. Up until now in the MCU, unfortunately, he has been in a world that has catered to him. So the fact that we're switching it back around to a classic Spider-Man story, it's street level, he's alone, he's got to figure it out for himself, and he's got no resources. That's classic Spidey. Now, that's not to say that he can't have resources, because obviously in these classic stories where he is starting from the ground up, he is the underdog, he has no resources, he can build those connections, referring to the PS4 Spider-Man game, he builds his connections with the police captain, he builds his connections with the NYPD officers, he builds his connections with different people around New York City, and therefore has that help as he moves through the story, right? However, we know that at this moment, he got none of that, so he has the potential to get those things, just doesn't have them at the moment. Of course, we know he is no longer the babyface Tom Holland that we grew to know and love. He is now a more grown and mature Peter Parker, and because of that, the story itself will be a little bit more grounded in reality, grown and mature, to kind of follow that same sense but not losing the boyish Spider-Man charm that he's always had. Now, one of the big things that we pretty much all know, that filming has already begun in Glasgow, and it was led by an insane promotional mission that basically turned the entire world into Spider-Man fans, and I love it. Obviously, we all know the order in which it happened. There was a small tease on Spider-Man Day, and then the next day they revealed the official suit in all of its glory, and then right after that they begun filming in the public streets of Glasgow. They did that in that specific order so they can control the release of the suit and kind of put it out there themselves rather than us just seeing blurry set photos before we saw the actual suit. Not only were they filming in Glasgow for a couple scenes, but it was also, like I said, an insane promotional tactic and a marketing idea to get the people involved and get people talking about Spider-Man. And clearly it worked. Everybody's been going crazy over this stuff. Shooting in public for certain scenes and shots just to build a little bit of hype and share some pics with the intention of pushing promotion a little bit farther. Obviously it worked. Now, in terms of the overall state of the MCU, or at least specifically Peter Parker's story, because I'll be honest, I'm not super up to date with the MCU at the current moment, but the overall state of the world that's important to this story is that Peter Parker is still wiped from existence. He didn't hit a reset. He didn't go around introducing himself to everybody. He is still wiped from existence and does not exist to anybody from his past. But that does beg the question to me, because later on I'll kind of go over the villains in this movie, and I'm going to put a pin in this because I want to get back to this point of Peter Parker being wiped from existence when I get to the villain. God, I hope I remember to do that. Reports also say that this film takes place roughly 3 years after No Way Home, which gives us a lot of insight into who Peter Parker is and just how competent he's going to be as Spider-Man. He's not fresh onto the streets alone. He's been doing this for 3 years. So we're going to get to see the 3 years that he's been doing this, kind of getting the hang of it, learning the ropes, and not having a safety net to catch him this time. And I definitely do like that. I want to be able to see a more experienced Peter Parker dealing with the world alone. However, I would be remiss to say if we didn't get a scene early on in the movie showing us the 3 years that he spent trying to learn and trying to grow as a solo Spider-Man. It would be cool to see how he got to the point where he's at, where he is now a more competent version of a solo Spider-Man. Now, one report that I'm a little bit unsure about, I haven't seen too many confirmations on this, but it's been said that this film will lead directly into Avengers Doomsday. I don't entirely know how, why, or if that's even the case. This film doesn't seem like it has anything to do with Avengers Doomsday. That's been a lot more related to the cosmic side of Marvel. You know, Fantastic Four, dealing with, you know, the Thunderbolts, dealing with all of that kind of area of Marvel. Spider-Man seems very removed from that area. So this is one I'm not going to say is confirmed because I don't know for sure if the next film after this is Doomsday, but I'm gonna hope that it's not, because I kind of want to see more of Spider-Man and more of this story before we destroy the entire universe in Doomsday, or at least completely do something weird with it, you know? Like, I feel like I want to see a new trilogy of this Spider-Man before we do something Avengers level worthy, you know? But again, take what I say with a grain of salt on that specific fact. I don't know if it's for sure or not. That's one I'll say is rumored. Moving into a couple of different other actors that are going to be in this movie that have been confirmed, we have Jon Bernthal as the Punisher from the Punisher TV series coming into the MCU, interacting with Spider-Man in this movie, and that is something that is insanely cool that I didn't really expect to see, but it makes total sense. Spider-Man in this movie is going to be a street level hero. Another Marvel street level hero, or I guess vigilante in this case, would be Frank Castle, would be the Punisher, and it's said that he's going to be a lot more violent and aggressive and have a huge array of armed weapons at his disposal to face an oncoming threat. What that threat could be, I have no idea, but it's kind of scaring me because I said this was going to be street level, and if it starts getting to the point of like a citywide war, I don't know, that could be cool, but it depends how they do it. Anyway, I'm super curious to see Peter Parker interact with the Punisher, because obviously they stand for two completely different things. You know, Peter Parker Spider-Man has always stood for heroism, doing what's right, helping out the little guy and saving people. The Punisher has always served for, you know, law and order and justice, and kind of being his own law system when it has failed him in the past. And the two of them go by completely different rules and morals in their actions, even though they do have a similar goal in mind. So I'm very curious to see the interactions that we're going to have with those two, knowing that they both have a similar goal in mind, and probably will have to team up and see how that conflict of interest kind of coincides in their relationship. And going on top of that, this is one that really shocked me, and I have no idea how this is going to play into the story. Mark Ruffalo is set to return as the Hulk in this movie. That is one that actually caught me off guard. I could understand the Punisher, and I can actually see this fitting into Peter Parker's story, but bringing the Hulk in is something that really entices me, and I want to see how it's done, because again, I'm gonna keep hammering down this fact. I want it to be realistic. I want it to be grounded. I'm not saying it needs to be like perfectly realistic. We're in a comic universe, but I want a more grounded, realistic street level approach. And when you start bringing in these more Omega level heroes, it is a lot to kind of handle and tackle, but I'm not saying they can't do it. One of the theories that I have is, I kind of mentioned this in the Punisher section, is what kind of threat could cause Frank Castle to have such a heavy arm that he's going into this fight with? Maybe the fact is that it's the Hulk who's actually the threat, and it's the fact that Spidey and Punisher have to team up to take down the Hulk, which also leads me to think, what version of the Hulk are we getting? Are we getting the rage-filled Hulk, or are we getting Smart Hulk? That's where we last left off, is with Smart Bruce Banner Hulk. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out and what's actually going to happen. And obviously we have the whole thing of like, Bruce doesn't remember Peter, but Hulk does. That's something that would be really cool to see in a scene, a nice emotional scene between the two. That'd be awesome. I'm going to lay it down real quick. We're going to do a quick kind of like theory speed run right now in like 30 seconds. My theory is that the real threat is going to be a different villain, but the initial threat at the beginning of the film is going to be the Hulk. Punisher and Spider-Man have to team up to take down the Hulk. They team up to take down the Hulk, and then it turns into a three-way fight between the two of them. They all realize they're on the same side, and then those three team up to take down the actual bad guy. Boom, got it. That's gonna be a really cool movie, unless I'm just like entirely wrong. Moving on to the villains in this movie. The villains that we know are confirmed to be in this movie are Scorpion, with the same actor from Spider-Man Homecoming returning to reprise his role as Mac Gargan, which is awesome because I loved that actor as Scorpion. And that was the one that I wanted to bring up when I was mentioning earlier Peter Parker was wiped from existence. Obviously, Peter Parker was wiped from existence, but Spider-Man himself wasn't. So that's going to create a really interesting kind of emotional pull for Peter Parker, knowing that there's these villains who still have this hatred for Spider-Man, knowing that he just sacrificed his own existence just to save everybody. He still didn't get off scot-free. Like, people still want to get him, you know? I feel like that made a lot more sense in my head when I was thinking about it. Other villains that are confirmed to be in this movie are Tombstone, Tarantula, Boomerang, and Ramrod, and then there's a rumor of Mr. Negative being in this film. If you don't know who Mr. Negative is, he is the main villain of the first half of the PS4 Spider-Man game, and he is a severely underrated villain. The amount of culture and lore that goes behind that guy is insane. Now, obviously, I'm thinking off the spot here. Obviously, I'm thinking off the dome here. There's a lot of villains that I just listed off. A lot of these have to be kind of quick, one and done villain of the week type thing. There's no way they can have a concise, consistent story with all of these villains running rampant if they are all the same threat. That doesn't mean that they can't be active for the entire movie, but what I'm saying is these villains have to be a lesser threat to Peter, because of whatever the main villain is has to be the big pull. It has to be something that actually causes a threat to Peter. And all of these other villains seem like they could be subcontract villains that are hired by somebody to actually hunt down Spider-Man or provide a problem for him. I'm just theorizing in the dark here. There's absolutely zero validity to what I'm saying. I'm just guessing how it could work. All I'm saying is there's a lot of villains that I just listed off that were confirmed to be in this movie. And when you have a lot of villains, we know that that could kind of work against your movie in the long run. So maybe it's the fact that there's a lot of like these one and done villain of the week type things, and it just serves as a milestone for Peter to beat so that he can grow as Spider-Man. And maybe we'll see that in like 3-year montage I mentioned earlier. Maybe it'll be something kind of akin to a Sinister Six type battle where whatever the main villain is grabs all of these like lesser villains to team up against Spider-Man, or the Spider-Man Punisher Hulk combo, and we get a big final battle. Or, and this is the one I hope the most, maybe it's a case of these other villains are introduced but not necessarily a main problem in this movie. They're simply just put in as little plot points that we will revisit within the rest of the trilogy. Because I am hoping we get an entire trilogy of this, and it would be really cool to see a consistent villain from that little bunch of villains make their way all the way to the top and be the final fight in the third one. But overall, I do like the fact that they're kind of pulling more of the obscure Spider-Man villains from the comics. Spider-Man has a large rogue gallery, and it's kind of been very repetitive over the years, so it's nice to know that they're pulling out kind of lesser known villains for him to face, because he does have a large gallery of these rogues, and it's cool to see them kind of experiment with the lesser known ones. As I mentioned earlier, there are rumors of Mr. Negative being the main villain, and that would be pretty sick to see. There have been set photos that are either shown or leaked of the kind of the demon symbol that he uses spray painted onto one of the military tanks that Spider-Man is on. So that's kind of a big key factor on if Mr. Negative is in this movie, or if it's just the demons that are in this movie, or it's some kind of affiliation of those things. But above all, there are rumors that Mr. Negative will be in the film and will be the main villain of the film. It has been reported that Scorpion does have a prominent role in the movie, but is not the main villain. It's been confirmed that Kingpin is not in this movie, so he can't be the main villain. So it begs the question of who is the main villain of this movie. My money is going on either Mr. Negative or Tombstone. Tombstone is the one I want the most, and I'll explain this in another video why I think he would be the best villain for this trilogy. I'm gonna explain this in another video, so stay tuned for that. I'm gonna go quick on this next section because I have a million other videos I talked about this in. Obviously, we have a new suit. It's amazing. I've made videos breaking this down. Check that one or any of those shorts. I've made the videos breaking them down. But obviously, this suit was inspired from his vinyl swimsuit in No Way Home. It takes inspiration from both Toby and Andrew's suits. But this video is already going to be long enough, so again, if you want more details about that suit and about the breakdown of it, check all of those out. Sorry, I hate kind of selflessly plugging those videos, but I really don't want to have to like kill time on this one to repeat what I've already said there. This is one of the things I'm most excited about are the practical stunts that we have seen from the filming in Glasgow. My God, this movie is going to be peak. We have seen actual videos and reports of practical swinging happening in the streets of filming in Glasgow. We've seen the practical stunts, the practical scenes. We've seen Tom on wires, doing flips, tricks, jumping on tanks, swinging from buildings, swinging to save people, doing his stunts, doing fighting for real, not CGI swinging, practical stunts. And of course, above all else, a practical spider suit. You might be wondering why I care so much about this stuff, and it's a main reason. When you do things practical, it looks better. Straight out the gate, when you do something practical, it always looks cooler, even if it's a little campy or cringy. The fact that you did it for real makes it look better. Now, yes, I won't be oblivious. I know they're gonna mask a lot of the stuff with CGI. He's gonna have CGI swinging, he's gonna have CGI fighting, saving, all of that stuff. I get it. There's going to be CGI perfections added to all of the imperfections. But the fact that they're at least going the extra mile of filming things practically in a practical suit on a practical location with a practical set with practical people doing practical stunts is practically cool. That was the worst joke I've made on this channel. Well, at least this video is going to stand for something. Now, on top of the practical stunts being an insanely good filming choice and just adding to the realism of the movie, they also served as a filming and promotional push, like I said earlier, promoting all of this stuff, showing it to the public, letting the public film all this stuff, getting hype out for the movie, essentially advertising the movie for free, seeing Spider-Man swinging and just post it online to everyone to see. It's a great marketing tactic because again, clearly, it worked. I have one last section just called random facts. I didn't know where they fit. Like my other sections were stunts, the suit, the villains, the heroes, the state of the world, what I've heard, the story, and then I just have random facts. So here are the random facts I figured out. I just didn't know where to put them. In some behind the scenes photos, Peter has been seen at May's grave, whether he was visiting the grave, talking to her, talking to a friend. He's been seen at the grave, so we can expect to see a scene between him and May, him talking to her post-mortem. That's gonna be really sad. In some behind the scenes photos, Zendaya has also appeared on set, but she has not been seen filming, just visiting and being with Tom. However, there are reports of her being in this movie in a much, much more reduced scale. She will have a couple scenes, a couple lines, but not a main role. Again, those are rumors and reports. I don't know for sure on that one. And the last one is there's been a rumor of an actress set to play the role of Real Morales in this film. Now again, that one is not confirmed. It's just an actress that has been confirmed for the movie in an undisclosed role. She could play Real Morales in this movie, which of course sets up our favorite character, Miles Morales, for this universe. Now, I'm gonna talk about this in another video, why I don't want Miles to show up yet, but I don't want Miles to show up yet. I'm gonna save it for that other video though, because I can go very much into depth of why it's a bad idea to bring him in early, but he should be set up at least. And we do have little hints here and there. We had one in Homecoming with the Prowler. We had one in, Across the Spider-Verse where it's hinting at him in this universe. We have our hints, we have our building blocks, so when he eventually comes into the universe, it'll be worth it, but don't bring him in yet. I'll explain later. Anyway, that's everything that I kind of pulled from what we know about Spider-Man Brand New Day so far. I could be wrong on a lot of these, and I could also be vastly underinformed. If you know things that I don't, please feel free to leave a comment down below, have a discussion down below, or you could join the Discord right here and you could talk in the Spiderweb community. We've been talking about that movie nonstop since we've seen the promo images. I would love to get a good discussion going about what you guys think about what's going on, what you think the movie's going to be about, how you think the Hulk, Punisher, all of those villains are going to play a role in it, what you think the main villain is going to be, basically all of that. So I'll end this off by saying, what do you think about all of this stuff? What do you think about Brand New Day, the suit, the story, all of that? Feel free to leave a comment, start a discussion down below. I'll try to get back to every one of you guys, and definitely make sure to like and subscribe because of course with Spider-Man Brand New Day being on the horizon, I have a lot more videos planned for this topic. So you can expect to see that a lot from this channel on top of the other normal content that we post. Anyway, if this manages to get up before this weekend, if you're going to Fan Expo Chicago, I'm going and I'm running the Spider Suit giveaway. Check my Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and love, do good things, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, Spider-Man!